Hello and welcome to the Overcoming Roadblocks That Are Preventing Your Success series. I am so excited to have you here today. I can't believe who I have as a special guest. This, folks, stick around. You do not want to miss this. We have got the one and the only and the perfect Theresa Byrne with us, and she's going to talk to us all about the secrets to doubling your energy now. And as you know, this series is all about overcoming roadblocks. And I have invited Theresa to come and talk to us about her tips and strategies that will help us figure out what's getting in our way to success and how can we overcome them so that we can do exactly what we're meant to do on this planet and make a big difference in the world. So welcome, Theresa. So thank you so much for being a part of this show.
Oh, I can't thank you enough. I'm so excited to be here, Susan. And not only that, I'm excited that you are addressing roadblocks. So often in the coaching and in the consulting industry, we're not looking at some of these different pieces. So I love what you are uncovering.
Well, thank you for bringing that up because I think it is the world's best kept secret. You know, there's all these gurus and marketing people and business people who are all telling you, okay, step one, step two, step three, and they're missing the most vital part of any successful business. And that is, how to overcome those kinds of challenges that keep cropping up. And we're going to get more and more into that conversation today about what that really means and what's really happening when that happens. But it is something that rarely gets talked about, or it gets talked about in a different way that doesn't quite resonate with entrepreneurs. They think, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me. Oh, well, that doesn't pertain to what's going on with me. So why don't we just dive right in? Because I'm really anxious to talk to you about this. And why don't we start off with, what are some of the telltale signs and that are challenges as an entrepreneur that keep coming up that are actually more within our control than what we really think? And I thought this was a pretty curious question to ask you.
First, it's such a good question. I would love to sort of define like what is a challenge? So something that comes up in my business, you might be like, oh, been there, done that. Or if any entrepreneurs had to start learning technology, you're freaking out. You're thinking, I do not know how to do this, or that, or Zoom, or Be Live, or how do I publish videos? And it feels like a challenge in the beginning. And then what happens? We start to learn, we start to practice. So it's not the thing itself, it's our reaction to it. It's what we make it mean. It's what it does in our systems. And I'm going to tell you a secret. Our adrenaline systems will treat something that feels like a threat like it is a threat. It doesn't even matter if it's a real threat. So, for example, I'll use the example of learning something for your business. Maybe, let's say in your business, you've got to learn how to do podcasting, or you've got to learn how to do some kind of voice recording. And it is like you are clueless. What do we start to do? You freak out. Many of us will freak out, right? We will fight, flight, or freeze. And that can often look like, I'm not doing that. Or we put it off. We're uncomfortable. So we put it off and we make up in our heads that there's one way to do it. And if I just had all the right tech, if I took all the right classes, if I fill in the blank, then I could do it. It's almost like if this, then I could do that. And that is what we would do to a challenge, or I guess I should say an opportunity. So what's the difference between a challenge and an opportunity?
Good question. Good question. And I love how you phrase that because I'll definitely get you to answer that. But I just wanted to say that I love how you just twisted that negative into a positive. Like it is all about how we respond and react to whatever challenge it is that comes our way, whether it's learning a new podcast or whether it's, the economy is tanked. It can be a huge spectrum of things that come across us that we can perceive as challenges, yet it's how we perceive those challenges and how we react to them. So you tell me, what's the difference between a challenge and an opportunity?
I think it's all in the definition and the perception. So if you gave a 3-year-old a box and you said, build something, okay, I'm going to make a castle. No, wait, I am going to build a flying machine. I am going to. But if you give a 35-year-old a box and tell them to build something, they're going to search YouTube and ask Google, what can I do with a box? The difference is the level of creativity. The idea that something is an opportunity changes our thinking. So oftentimes we'll sabotage ourselves,
Yeah.
draining our energy by creating that this idea has one way, or it has to go this way, or there's one right answer. And honestly, what if we had that mind of a child and we looked at everything like an opportunity? Ah, cool. Now I get to learn podcasting. I have to write a book. Wait, I get to write a book. And for any of us who ever tried something new, it was hard the first time we did it. It was a challenge the first time we did it. But after that, it became something we got better and better at. So
Mhm.
really, it's all in the mindset. It's all in what we say when we talk to ourselves about it.
Yeah, I love that. It is. But I also want to mention, like, there's a point where enough learning, like there can be, there's people out there, and you know who you are, who have to have every single duck in a row before you can take a step forward further. So maybe what I would like to phrase is, instead of making sure every single duck is there, instead of you taking all the time to learn and spend all this money to learn a skill set that maybe somebody else could do for you. So it's not just
Ooh.
learning, but also about delegating too, is it not?
Well, and imagine this, if you will. You've got decided you're going to learn how to podcast, and it's freaking you out, and it is draining you, and you're avoiding it, and you're binge eating at night because you don't want to think about the fact that you're supposed to be doing a podcast. And instead of making yourself crazy and trying to figure out which ducks need to be up, and by the way, what were we going to do with all those ducks anyway? Like, I've never seen ducks actually in a row. So being able to respectfully understand that our energy is worth something. So to
Mm.
pay or delegate, that makes so much more sense, because then we can live in our genius. We can do what we came here to do and not freak out about learning a podcast.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Like, I think this is something that I've mentioned in the past with others, but, I think it's worthy of repeating, is that especially us women, for whatever reason, we have this sense that we should already know how to do all of this. And to ask for help is almost like an insult to our intelligence. And we're embarrassed by it. What's with that?
So for many women especially, and I love this, like one of the things I do is teach self-defense, and it's so much fun because women are like, okay, do I use this part, and do I stand this way? Like, how do I do the exact thing? And it's
Mm.
not the exact thing that matters as much as it is doing it. And for a lot of us, we sort of feel like if it's my thing, I need to take care of it. If it's my job, I need to handle it. If it's my blank, it's under my responsibility. We take
Mm.
too much responsibility. And here's a funny story. I owned and ran a martial arts studio for many years, and I hated the detail work, hated that. And I hired a woman who had utter and complete joy. She became my studio director, and she was full of joy at all the details, all the scheduling. In fact, she started running my schedule because I was so bad at it. But and we had these big conversations. Her strengths were exactly what I didn't have. But we women were like, I got this. I got this. I can do this and I can do that, and I can make sure they're taken care of, and I can take care of the house, and I can take, like, we think we signed up for all of these pieces
Yeah. And
in our
I just,
heads.
yeah, I just love what you just said, because I'm that details person. And I love working with visionaries who feel like they are scattered everywhere, but really we need visionaries in the world, and we need the opposites to work with those visionaries so that we can keep them in, on track, and help make sure that all the steps are in place to get to where they need to be.
So then
So,
I want you to repeat that again for anybody out there who is not delegating the details. What happens for you when you handle that for other people? What does that feel like?
Well, for me, I'm in my glory. Like, that's exactly what I'm on this earth to do. I'm in my purpose. I'm taking your vision, your bigger picture, and I have a gift of knowing. I just know exactly what it is that you're wanting to achieve and accomplish. Just get a little bit of input from you, and then let's go to work and let's break it up into bite-sized pieces and let's systematically roll this out and get you to where you need to be. And that's my genius. And then what happens on the other end is the visionary just feels this sense of calm and peace, so that, oh my God, everything is being taken care of. I don't have to worry about all these little details anymore, because that's not in their genius.
That's what I love. I wanted people to hear that. There are people, the things you don't want to do actually give joy to someone else.
Yes. Yeah. And it works the other way too. Like, I have to have a visionary on my team, because I might have an inkling of an idea, but I pass it by my visionary, and then together. And in fact, when you and I first spoke, what did we do? We fleshed out this whole series almost in that one conversation, because you had brought the visionary element into the mix. And so we need both. Opposites do attract, and they do work really well together. And if you look at any of the famous people on earth, from Bill Gates to, all these other people, they always have an opposite on their team. Always.
Brilliant. And when I was watching you, your energy just like started soaring. My energy, if you said, let's work at the details, oh no. And we're talking about doubling your energy. Well, delegate to someone who it lights them up.
Yeah, that lights them up. So talking about energy, let's talk about those challenges that we were referencing. Like, what do the challenges have to do with our energy? Is it more that, like, is it just like this Debbie Downer kind of a syndrome? Is there more to it that's going on there?
Imagine this: when you are living in your zone of genius, you're activating your strengths, you are shining, you're living your purpose, you're in the flow, you're in the zone. It creates its own energy. It synergistically adds energy. So even if you and I are working together and I'm delegating details, I have more energy because I've given you something that drains my energy. You get more excited, and then I get more excited. So it doesn't just like singular, it doubles, it quadruples. It is the sum is much bigger because of that synergy. So the challenge is looking at, where is my energy around this item? Like, if you tell me you need to sit and do paperwork, I am so like, I'm in timeout. But if you tell me, hey, you need to be on this radio show and you're going to be interviewed on this podcast and you're going to be doing this video, I'm like, oh, okay, let me get my stuff going. That's where my brain is going to fly. And the difference is that each of those opportunities or challenges will feel a way in our bodies. Learning how to recognize that feeling, and you'll start to see more, they call it embodiment work or somatic work. You'll start to see this more. We're focusing more on how we feel and less on just how we think, because feeling tells us a lot more information. And there's two different kinds of stress. Stress is a big catchphrase right now. There is what's called distress, where there's overwhelm, too much, out of comfort zone, beating yourself up, horror, like having a really difficult time. And then there's another kind of stress called eustress, EU stress. And eustress is like when you start going to the gym for the first time, or you're lifting a weight, or you're doing a squat, or for women, I mean, when we do push-ups, no woman I know loves doing push-ups, but they're super good for us. And then when you can like kick out 50 push-ups, you're like, I can kick out 50 push-ups. Doesn't mean I love them, but it helps us grow. It is that stress. If you're pregnant, tons of eustress. You've got to figure out, how am I going to be a parent? How am I going to have this child? Oh my God, I'm going to give birth in X number of months. And it calls you into being. So eustress is more of an aspirational. It calls you into that next level of yourself. Distress is the heavier, or beating ourselves up, we're struggling with that level of stress. And the challenges or the opportunities, they will bring up those different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's almost like you have your positive stress and your negative stress. And we want more positive stress in our lives because they're stressing us out, but they're also pushing us past our limits and getting us past some possible perceived roadblocks, like what you're saying about the push-ups.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can do one push-up, let alone 50, but I guess I've just been challenged. I don't know. But
A push-up a day
uh,
and one. Nailed it.
just one, just one. Do I have to get my nose all the way to the ground? Can I just like a little nudge?
You can put your knees on the floor. None of that matters.
Okay. But I love that. And so let's talk a little bit more about that negative stress, because I think, especially with COVID, a lot more of that perceived negative stress has come into our lives. And it's right through to right now with the state of the economy, and the recession is looming, and and the world just feels like it's been turned upside down in the last few years. And so can you share a little bit about how we can do that? How can we overcome that? Some of this is really real. Some of it, people are really struggling with finances. They're really struggling in their relationships. But let's keep focused on entrepreneurs, and what can entrepreneurs do to deal with this negative stress and get on with their vision and get past all of these roadblocks that they're encountering.
Oh, this is such a great question. And I almost want to like publish this out to the world. Yes, there are things that are stressors, and there are some things that are perceived negative, and there's something that actually do feel negative. But I will say, worrying about them never made them different.
Bingo.
85% of the time, what we worry about does not come to fruition. And we start building up in our heads reasons and options and ways it's going to go down, and we build this case for the worst case scenario. And I have to tell you, in 2014 I had a car accident, brain injury, and the doctors could never figure out how I was so positive. And yes, I had depression and anxiety and PTSD and all of these things. I talk about it in my TED Talk, but the difference is I knew I was going to heal. I just didn't know how. And the difference is you're going to figure it out. You may just not have all the tools right now, but worrying about it robs us of this moment. Now, like most entrepreneurs, especially when it comes to finances or clients or longevity or whatever stability we're looking at, it's okay to create a plan for if this thing happens, but you don't have to live there.
Yeah.
You don't have to make every moment, because it robs you of your very valuable personal resource that you can't get back, is time, the energy in that time. So for me as an entrepreneur, when I had a great month, it wasn't like I would sit there and yay, I would be like, okay, great, now let's keep building. But it's okay to sit back and say, this can work. And the other thing is, if you're having a difficult time financially, the biochemistry of stress or adrenaline is not going to help you get through it. Calming yourself will.
Yeah.
Learning how to get into your body, that will help you move through it.
Yeah, I need to pause here for a second, because what you just said is so incredibly important. And I implore you, the viewer, to soak that in and let it sink in. It's not just words, it's reality. That we've heard this phrase before, what you think about comes about. Well, it's true. The more you worry, the more you're going to manifest what you're worrying about. And then, you're manifesting, or you're attempting to manifest, because you're thinking about it all the time. And then, like what you said, is that it rarely ever comes to fruition. And I think that, and also in saying that, I can't remember who it was that I read somebody's book, and they said that there are worriers of the world and non-worriers. Like, it's in our DNA. And I'm one of those non-worriers. And so sometimes it might be hard for me to relate, to the worriers, because I'm going, what are you worrying about? And they're going, why aren't you worried about this? Right? Like, we're both legitimately wondering why the other person doesn't get them. And so, but the important thing here is that the worriers, they do always think ahead. They're always 10 steps ahead, making plans for the what ifs of the world. So I think the key thing to know here is to not get emotionally involved in that sense of worrying. Instead, do what you had said and plan it. Okay, let's have a plan in place. If this happens, let's have a plan, and then it's set aside. You don't have to think about it again. You've got that plan. Your sense of worrying is no longer needed. It's no longer necessary, and it probably won't even get looked at, because the more we look at something from a positive perspective, then the more of that intention of the positive outcome has a chance of coming to fruition, right? Would you agree with that?
I absolutely would. And I'd also say that our brains are designed and developed in different ways. And for someone who is a worrier or has the vigilance, let's call it, they're usually the front warning signs, the canary in the coal mine. I mean, they alert us to things. The difference is the minute it starts to spin over past what's comfortable, it becomes stress or adrenaline in our body. Then it starts to, cause all kinds of health issues.
Right.
But the difference is outlining a plan. If this bad thing happens, these are the 3 solutions. If I lose my home, I will move into my parents' basement. I will move into my friend's basement, and worst case scenario, my business goes up or, my business goes down and I have to close the doors. My biggest fear would be I'm homeless. Well, no, here are 3 opportunities other than being homeless. Here are 3 options other than being homeless. So at least I got that covered. Yeah. And the difference is for anyone who has vigilance or a worrying part to them, you can't shut it down. It'd be like telling your brain not, don't think of the white tiger. Wait, there's a white tiger? What kind of tiger? But the difference is allowing it to be part of who you are, but don't let it define you. And if it becomes a negative, robs you of energy, let it go. Figure out what you're saying when you talk to yourself.
One thing that just popped in my mind that would be very beneficial is to write a gratitude journal, because sometimes when people who are worriers, they're mired in that negative energy force field too much, and they need to be reminded of what is all the positive stuff that's going on in the world. So I've been doing this for years. Every night I go to bed and it doesn't matter if it was the most horrific, worst day of my life, I will think of 3 positive things that I'm grateful for. And it just shifts the energy.
We are never given an obstacle without the way to get through it. And we are never given a potentially bad outcome without a gift, something that we learned, something that we won't do again, something that we use to inspire others. There are so many examples out there of people who've had devastating circumstances and they've turned it into a gift. We can all do that. We can all look for, okay, I had to file bankruptcy, but what I learned from that is this. Or we can all do that. And I love the gratitude journal, because one of the studies shows that gratitude and fear or worry cannot live in the same space in your head. You cannot have both at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Now that's beautiful. I love that. I've never heard that before, but that makes so much sense. Yeah. So I think we've covered it, but I just want to make sure that, is there anything further you want to say about, some of the ways that we can give advice to stop being stopped, how to stop being stopped?
So I have a TED Talk on TED.com called The Dangers of Your Inner Bully. One of the most important things, listen to the voice that is talking to you in your head. And when we beat ourselves up, we rob ourselves of that valuable time, and we can create our own adrenaline reaction. So listen to what you say when you're talking to yourself. Learn how to calm that part of yourself, to stop beating yourself up. And the other part, I think, is that we all have it. We all have a voice that might tell us we're not doing so awesome, but learn how to hear it first, and then learn how to start working with it.
That is so important. I don't think there's a human being on earth that has not heard that inner critic, the one that says, you're, what the heck are you doing here, girl?
Yeah. All the way to like beating ourselves up, like profusely, to just like, you're a mess, or what were
Yeah.
you thinking,
What
or,
were you
judging
thinking?
ourselves. Like there's that whole spectrum. Yes.
Yeah, that whole spectrum. And so I think, yeah, even just the very first step is to acknowledge it, to recognize it. Oh, wait a second. Yeah,
Aha.
okay. I just heard myself. And then turn it into a positive, but wait, I know you said that, but look at all these good things that are going on. And then we're shifting that energy. Yeah. I love
Love
it.
that.
Yeah. Oh man, we could talk about this all day, but we're gonna leave it at that unless you had any parting words of wisdom. And then I would love to have you tell people where they can go to learn more about what you do and how you can help them and get over these energy blocks and get more power and enthusiasm for their business and their life.
Yeah, and their relationships and their
The
so
whole nine
I
yards,
run a
right? Yeah.
I run a program. You can check it out on teresabyrne.com, the spelling of my name as it appears on the screen, teresabyrne.com. And I'm actually offering a free gift to do an assessment of who are the sabotaging voices in your head. So we oftentimes have um, things that are helpful in our heads and things that are not helpful. The saboteur assessment will help you understand and outline what the characterization of some of those sabotaging voices might be. And I'll
Mm.
give you a plan to start helping you deal with and work through those saboteurs so that they don't have to keep running the show. We think we have to worry because it's proven that we have, or in all of our lives, we've been shown that if we're not worried, chaos will ensue. No, that's not how we were put on the planet. So the work that I do is a lot of positive intelligence. I'm a certified positive intelligence coach, and I help people access the parts of their minds and their brains that work for them, not against them.
Oh, I love that. So everybody, you'll find the full URL to her free gift in the show notes here somewhere on this page. Just go ahead, please click on it. And even if you think that this doesn't apply to you, maybe you're like me and you're not a worrier, but trust me, there's still those negative messages that are going on in our heads, whether we put a lot of energy into it and worry about it or not. I think there is, like I said before, there's nobody on earth who can't benefit from understanding more about what's going on in our minds, how we're reacting to certain challenges that are coming up, and how we navigate this world that we have plunked ourselves in as entrepreneurs and business owners. And I think that in fact, I think I'd seen a thing somewhere. I'm sorry, I'm quoting something that I can't remember anything about it. But other than the premise was that the business owners who really do succeed, they're the ones who have figured out how to overcome what's going on in their heads.
And I will
Period.
say, you may not be a worrier, but if you're overwhelmed or drained or stressed or anxious or short or upset or angry, then there is some level
Yeah.
of dealing with this that needs to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm certainly not immune to it at all. And so at the end of the day, what we wanted to tell you, the viewer, is that these challenges, even though they may seem concrete and valid, and it's black and white, it's factual, there's other ways that you can be looking at it. And if you look at it with an open mind, with the possibility that there are solutions to every problem, you will get through them, you'll get over them, you'll get around them, you'll get under them. But it's all how you tackle them. That's the key. So thank you so much, Theresa, for sharing that insight. I think that it was an amazing conversation, just a little bit that you were able to share with us in this short amount of time. And everybody, please go to the link that's on this page somewhere to take advantage of that free gift that Theresa's giving you, and be open to the possibilities of learning that there's more that you can be doing to help you and your business to fulfill your vision. So thanks again, Theresa. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And,
Thanks, Susan.
and for you, the viewer, I so appreciate you coming here too. And please remember to always lead your life with kindness, not just to other people, but also to yourself. So that's it. We'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.